How's it going, friends? Hope you're all doing great. Sending my regards to everyone. Today, I'll be launching this segment called Encoding Corridos. In this segment, we'll take a journey through the truth and lies intertwined in the world of corridos. In each episode, we're going to unravel the stories behind these very popular Mexican tales. We'll explore what they say, their meaning, and how they reflect reality. Sometimes telling the truth, but most of the time blatantly lying or exaggerating the character or events narrated. Narco corridos became a sort of propaganda, mostly associated with the Ocran. Even though there are also songs about characters who have nothing to do with the Ocran. Personally, to me, I like them and I'm a fan of them. Well, the old ones. But I don't know if it's correct to say that they are depreciating or have been overrated. Because at first, corridos were made for characters that stood out in one way or another, or with a significant event. In a few words, they did them for people who deserved it. And nowadays, anyone can afford the pleasure or luxury of having their own corrido, obviously as long as they have the money to pay for it. That's why there are countless corridos about all kinds of characters. The craziest and most extravagant one I got to hear is the one who was made by a dad to his son who wasn't born yet. But that's the way this scene is. As long as you have the money, you can afford the luxury of having whatever you want. Today, I'm going to tell you a true story.
But like everything, it has some details that are false.
Because it's very hard for composers to write 100% the truth. They have to adjust the corrido to what they imagine will grab people's attention, the most audience, and what will be better received. Because corridos, apart from being music, are also a business. Do not think that musicians do it just to be generous. Nothing like that. They make them to gain an economic benefit because they know people will consume them. And as a result, they're going to hire them for private parties and public events. That's why increasingly, they're focusing more on making the corridos more commercial. The corrido I'm going to talk about today is called ExpoAgro. And it is sung by my friend Ernesto Barajas from the Enigma Norteño group, if I remember correctly. Those events took place in February of the year 2012. That is when the Agro Expo take place in Culiacan. First off, let me tell you what the ExpoAgro is. The Agro Expo is an event that takes place every year where people interested in agriculture and sowing of land come together. There, many exhibitions to showcase all kinds of products related to agronomy, such as tractors, agricultural machinery, products for the field such as seeds, fertilizers, and so on. And there are thousands of people who go and see everything there. There are also small places to eat and alcoholic beverage sales. And for what the vast majority of people go, or men go, it's because there are lots of beautiful models advertising and promoting brands. In that year, the Agro Expo was located on the Culiacan-Mazatlan Highway, about 17 kilometers south of Culiacan. Here I show you the place where it was that year. The corrido tells a story about a group of young people, all part of the Ocran scene. They went to that ExpoAgro event, and the army carried out an operation to capture them. Thanks to someone that obviously passed the information that the Minilik was there. That's why the operation happened. The army didn't manage to capture, but they did secure vehicles. And the corrido narrates the events of how these characters made their escape. So, in a few words, that is what the song talks about. But here I will explain step by step how things happened, all right? Well, this story begins a day before this event. since there was, held a party at a ranch by Badiraguato. This place is on the border between Mocorrido and Badiraguato, but I think it belongs to Mocorrido. The ranch is called El Guayabito. There had been a gathering that lasted almost until the morning, and the Minilik attended with his people. Among those who went was his compadre Quince, his cousin Libra, and his security group called the Pantheras. Because Minilik had stayed up late, he got up already late and quite hungover, and a friend of his called Chino Lu. He called to invite him for some seafood. Minnie told Libre to get the guys ready because they were going out, referring to the bodyguards, and to the pointers. The group that looked after him in Culiacan was the group they called the Cannibals. Then they finally arrived at a seafood restaurant called Cuevas. That is on Teófilo Norris Street, there in Culiacan. There they ate and had some micheladas for the hangover. The Mini, the Liebre, the Quince, Chabelo, and the LU. By then it was about 5 in the afternoon, and Minnie's cousin was texting a friend of his who was acting as a model at the ExpoAgro. And the Libra told the Mini, "Hey, we should take a look to the Expo. My friend is telling me that there are some friends with her there, and we could give them a ride." The Mini was very hungover, but with those micheladas they were drinking, it seemed like he got back in action. And then Libra said, "Okay, organize everything to take a look over there." And the Quince, he said, "Compadre, why are you going? It's too late. And if it's for the girls, I can have the girls brought over right now, so why would you go? There's a ton of people and someone will recognize you. Just cut it out. If you want to go drinking again, let's go to a private place somewhere. But you don't have to go there to the Expo." And Lou was stubborn about going for a spin, and that's it. Well, as you already know, and as you've heard in the corrido, the not-at-all smart guy Minilik, to not call him another name or in another way, decided to go to the Expo. And when they got up from the restaurant, Minnie received a message informing him that merchandise had arrived, so he had to have it picked up. So the Mini sent the Quince to pick that up. That's why the Quince wasn't in the Expo that day. Many of you might wonder who Lou is. Chino Lou, which was, as they called him, he was a very good friend of Minnie. Actually, he was the one who wrote the corrido the Ahijado Consentido. By the way, the corrido is good. You should listen to it. But I recommend even more the one about El Ahijado Malagradecido. I feel that suits him better, and from what I see, I think it's going to fit him much better. Well, as the song goes, it was a very sunny morning. But by that time, it was already afternoon. The sun had set. The Libra sent a message to the person in charge of all the checkpoints along the road to ask how the area was and to see if there had been any government movement. And also if at that moment there was still government presence. The 4 was the one in charge of that. He reported that the entire area was clean, and that the black one, meaning the road, was clean and without any incidents. So the 15th went to pick up the merchandise, and the Mini, the Liebre, and LU, and all the security team went to the Expo. They left Culiacan via the Maxipista heading south. Leading the way were 2 pointing cars, then came the Mini in a white cruise car. Behind him was a white Altima and a white Camry. Those were the security team, and behind them was another pointer car to report anything from the rear. At the Agro Expo there were 2 parking lots. One was for the general public, and the other was for the exhibitors, and the people who had food stores and that kind of stuff inside. One of the pointers that was ahead, he went into the general parking lot to take a look around to see if anything looked off. And another pointer entered the other exhibitor's parking lot doing the same task. Managed to get in by giving money to the man guarding the entrance and reported to him, "Libra, there were parking spots available in that place. That's why the Mini and their group entered to the exhibitor's parking area." which was right by the roadside, and the other parking lot was behind the Expo. That's how it looked. Here I show you an image. They parked the cars and got out. The Mini, the Libre, and the Lou, one of the pointers, and 4 of their bodyguards. Only with a short and in one of the cars, 4 other members stayed behind. From the escort with the longs to stay alert for anything. The pointer in the rear was sent to position himself on the road about 3 miles away. The lead guy who was ahead was sent to a town called Costa Rica to pick up some stuff. By that time, people were already leaving the Expo. When this group, the Mini was leading, next to it El Liebre, and on another side, the Lou. And the 4 bodyguards were providing security, but from a distance, a bit far from them, so it wouldn't look too suspicious. But the truth is, it looked that there wasn't much to see because they walked around, and by then the stands were being taken down and the majority of the promo girls had already left. The Mini better decided to retire, but as he passed the food area, he met a friend who was at a table drinking. And then they greeted each other and started to chat. They were brought a bucket of beer, and between chats and sips, it turned night on them. The Mini had barely opened the second beer when they reported over the radio that there were 4 fast ones of 7-7 passing the coin. Now towards the south. This means there were 4 military trucks passing through the town called El Diez, heading south towards Mazatlan. And they were going to pass right in front of the ExpoAgro, but on the opposite lane of the highway, and there was no nearby return. They told Mini, but he said, they're just passing through, confident because army units are patrolling that road all day. So it was nothing strange. Just as Mini said, so it happened. Those 4 trucks passed by the Expo and kept going straight. Then 4 more army trucks were reported passing the 10 and also heading south. And they also reported 2 other pickup trucks of soldiers at the entrance of Culiacan, mentioning all were from the burners. Back then, that's what they called the Army's sand-colored trucks, because years ago, members of the Army, dresses of that color had burned something, and that's how they got the nickname burners. Well, then, when they told the Mini said, you know what? It's better if we move, because a lot is happening, and it's better to leave here. So if they are burners, better we leave. They began to say goodbye, and over the radio, it was announced that the second convoy, who had already passed the Expo, was in a turn waiting to make a U-turn. The Mini and his companions began to walk to the Expo's exit when they told the Mini that the fast ones were going to pass right by the parking lot entrance. And it wasn't something strange, since they were driving on that road all day long. The Mini never thought it could be an operation, since there was still a lot of people at the site. Right at the exit of the Expo towards the parking area on the sides, it was covered with plastic that didn't let you see the parking lot from the inside. And vice versa. You couldn't see anything, neither from the inside nor the outside, from the parking lot. As I mentioned, by that time it was already night. When the Mini stepped into the parking lot, he could see the lights of a car that was coming in. But it was hard to make out because the headlights were off. Only the parking lights were on. The ones that are like yellow and orange, and saw that it was spinning around. Behind that car was another car, and with the lights from the second car, he could tell that the car in front wasn't a car, but a pickup truck, and it belonged to the soldiers. And the soldiers were hopping off behind the truck, and everyone realized they were soldiers. And the Mini told his companion, they are military. And very slowly and quietly, so as not to look suspicious, everyone with the Mini went back to the Expo. Taking just, if anything, 2 or 3 steps, they turned right where the plastic just managed to cover them. Obviously, the military couldn't see them by that point. The Mini and everyone ran as if they were in the Olympics, and they really looked like roadrunners. They crossed the entire field from end to end until they reached the general public entrance. People at the expo looked them strange and scared at a group of 8 people running wildly through the halls. And everyone was holding their waists as everyone had their short. And you see, as I've explained, corridos usually change things. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. That the corrido says something that's not true. Well, friends, here ends the first part of this story. Stay tuned for next week to know the second part of the story. Thanks everyone for your support and look forward to more content from your friend Okran. Greetings.